Long story short, the next day I get a phone call from Brian Daboll asking me how I'm doing. I'll tell you this story. The first year, it was right, we were still in the COVID era. And the first year, it was summer training camp, and I had to sit down with Joe Shane. And then I went out to the field, and I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling like I was starting to get a cold, but at the time I was like, yeah, it's probably the heat. So I go through practice, and then I go home, and my husband, I see my husband. He says, "Oh, I tested positive for COVID," and my face went pale. I'm like, "Oh man, if you tested positive, that means I'm going to get it." Well, sure enough, I tested positive for COVID, and I felt absolutely horrible because I just sat with Joe Shane, and God forbid I had gotten him sick. So I remember emailing Giants PR, and I said, "Hey, just a heads up, my husband tested positive for COVID. I'm testing positive for COVID now. I sat with Joe. You might want to give him a heads up." Well, long story short, the next day I get a phone call from Brian Daboll asking me how I'm doing. He said, "I heard you tested positive for COVID. How are you?" This in the middle of training camp when he could have been in meetings or whatever. And I was like absolutely blown away. I was like, wow. So, he was nice enough to reach out to me. Joe Shane did also reach out to me, although by a text. And I was so remorseful. I was like, I am so sorry. I said, honest to God, I did not know. If I had known, I never would have sat with you. Thankfully, Joe didn't get sick. Thankfully, nobody got sick that I know of. But that just goes to show you, Daboll was very personal, and I have a great deal of respect for him.